Good morning, Austin, and welcome to the Atheist Experience. My name is Ray Blevins, and today we have David Kent and Sue Osborne. And I just wanted to welcome you to this morning's show. We are live June 14th. I guess it's also Flag Day, if anybody out there. But we will be taking your phone calls live on the air. And today's subject is going to be women in religion, and we'll be getting to that here shortly. But first off, we'd like to make a few announcements to do with Atheist Community of Austin. We meet every Sunday at 10:30 down at Hot Jumbo Bakery, and it's free and open to the public. We always like seeing new faces down there. And we also have our blood drive, our quarterly blood drive, which will be June 20th, which is next Saturday at Lamar. I think it's 4004 is the actual address. And just go on down there and say you're donating for the Atheist Community of Austin. We are listed with them. And that is an account that will be open to any atheist in Austin. You don't have to be part of our group. And any atheists out there that are having any kind of troubles or anything else, we're here to help. We want to let you know that there's a support group out there for you. You don't have to turn to religion for any kind of help. We love helping the atheists there. And so I guess we'll go on down to our announcements there. Sue has a wonderful announcement here about the Democratic Convention. Go right ahead.
Okay. I'm really happy to let you know that the Democratic Party Convention is going to be held June 25th, 26th, and 27th in San Antonio. And some of the members of ACA are delegates. Plus, there are plenty of other free thought, free thinkers, and atheists who are going to be delegates also, I'm sure. And on that point, we're going to have a caucus, a formal caucus and it's going to be titled Free Thinkers / Atheists. That caucus is going to be held Friday, which is June the 26th, and it's going to be at 2:30 p.m. When you come in and get your packet of credentials and schedules, you're going to have a caucus schedule. And when you get that, you'll see us listed, and we're really excited to have a formal caucus. The room number will be on that schedule. We don't have the room number yet at this time. Also, I want to invite people to come as guests to that convention. You do not have to be a delegate. You can sign in at the gate as a guest. You can come and see some of the resolution committee meetings or the other committee meetings. And if there is discussion, if the floor opens, then you may speak before the committee. You will not be able to go on the floor. That's only for delegates, but you will be able to see all of the convention and probably have some input. So please come. If you have any interest in the subjects that we have interest in, free thought, humanists, atheists, please come.
And Rodney Florence has done a wonderful job doing that.
Yes, let's give credit to Rodney. He's the one who got this formal, the application to the convention and got that place for us.
Great job there. And you also have something about the Republican convention here, don't you?
Well, yeah.
Just a mention.
Just as a contrast, you probably have read in the paper that there are a couple of groups who applied for tables at a convention floor because people like to display their reading materials and have various articles for sale. And the Republican convention denied tables to the Log Cabin Republicans and to the Texas Freedom Network. They're not inclusive, and as a contrast, we applied and got a formal caucus, not just a table, but a formal caucus at the Democratic Convention.
Interesting point. Now, going down some more articles here, and this one is actually from the editorial page, Molly Ivins, and from my understanding, she's not an atheist, but she did a wonderful editorial here about the RFA, and I just want to read a few highlights from this. says, for bigotry and un-American and un-Christian behavior, it's pretty hard to top some of the lobbying that on behalf of the Istook Amendment. Representative Chet Edwards of Texas described the amendment as a horrible solution in search of a problem. I thought that was excellent. It was the so-called RFA was an effort to improve the work of Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and other founders by Representative Istook of Oklahoma. This would be less droll if Istook was not such a knothead. This is her quotes here, and she did a wonderful job. On down the line, though, it was talking about all this could have led to an important debate on how to resolve public expression of faith in a land of many faiths. Instead, the Christian coalition attacked those who opposed the amendment for anti-Christian bigotry. Hello? To take a stand that clearly threatens to impose one set of religious beliefs on everyone else and then attack him for bigotry is seriously bizarre. Pat Robertson, a man with his own television network and multi-million-dollar enterprise and powerful political operation and influence, actually compared Christians in America today to Jews in Germany under the Nazis. They were forced to wear stars and were put in ghettos. Come on, that is just so far off the track. Istook and the Christian Coalition cite one horror story after another. A judge in Alabama who expelled 70 children for praying in school, a girl in Tennessee who got a 0 on her research paper because she chose to write about Jesus Christ, a Supreme Court ruling that a moment of silence in school is unconstitutional because it is used for prayer. None of that is true, nor a dozen other horror stories cited by the Christian right. This gives a perfect example of why we need the group Atheist Community of Austin. They're out there twisting the truth, trying to convince you people that the Christians are being persecuted. It's just simply not true. She went on to research these stories here. No students in DeKalb County, Alabama were expelled for praying in school. The court order in the case specifically recognizes the right of students to pray on their own, non-school sponsored, non-captive audience settings. One school in the district allows students to stage a prayer protest around the flagpole during school hours. 16 students refused to return to class, were suspended for the rest of the day. As you can see, they stretched that totally out of. The student who received a 0 on a paper did so because she had not met the requirements of the assignment, not because of the topic she chose. The 1985 Supreme Court ruling did not outlaw moments of silence in public school. The court held that the specific law passed by the Alabama was unconstitutional because it was for the sole purpose of expressing the state's endorsement of prayer activities. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor noted that many states have moment of silence laws. Georgia's had been specifically upheld by the Supreme Court. When you hear outrageous stories being repeated by Istook and others, and it certainly sounds as though they are being some denial of religious liberty going on. But when you check the stories out, it turns out they either never happened or they've been so distorted as to leave a wholly false impression. And that is their whole goal, is to distort the truth. Going down, she does one more paragraph. Personally, I've always thought that the problems would disappear if Christians would just read Matthew 6, chapter 6, verse 5 through 8. But when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in synagogue and on the street corners, to be seen by men. I tell you the truth, they have received their reward in full. When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees you, what is done in secret, will reward you. From what I understand, she is a Christian, but she is such an open-minded Christian and understands what's going on. I will always support her right to be a Christian, and you know, as long as you stay open-minded like that. And thank you, Molly. She brought up Pat Robertson in here, and at this time, we'll get right to that. I'm sorry. You want me? I can do that right now. I'm sorry. We had a caller from a high school who was being harassed because she was an atheist. Please call back or come to the Beggary to talk to us. Did she get cut off? Oh, she hung up. I see. That's a perfect example where people are afraid to admit they're atheists because of the persecution from the Christians. The Christians are not being persecuted in the United States. They have all kinds of religious freedom. And please do call back, caller. Now to get to Pat Robinson. I'm sorry. We will get to you, David. I'm sorry. And Pat Robinson this week had a Mickey Mouse prophecy about Orlando, Florida, and their gay day. He prophesied hurricanes. Yes, thank you. See, I can bring hurricanes just for us here.
I hear it. It's coming.
Because of Gay Day. He also said meteors. He got on his TV show and prophesied meteors and all kinds of coming down because of Gay Day. God's wrath is going to come down on Orlando, Florida. Well, Pat Robertson, we will be watching this, and we will gladly mention it on our show if a meteor hits Orlando, Florida. So we'll be watching from now on for that meteor. And if hurricanes come, that's a whole different story because we got El Nino.
We expect
It's a natural phenomenon. Hurricanes will happen. You know, I'm not going to deny there's not going to be a hurricane in Florida. Now, if it wipes out Orlando, that's just a luck of the...
Just Orlando, huh?
Just Orlando, yeah. If it comes down and it'll be real interesting. Okay, and we do have guests here, and I didn't mean to take that much of the floor there. David Kent has an article about the Baptists.
Well, yes, this last week the Southern Baptist Convention had their national meeting in Salt Lake City, Utah. Interesting place to have a meeting, and they adopted, as a part of the Baptist Faith and Message document, which is their core belief statement, it says, a wife is to submit graciously to the servant leadership of her husband. In other words, women, or wives at least, are now servants. A wonderful word that comes out of the New Testament that should be translated slaves, if we're going to be literal about it. And that leads perfectly into a great book I just came across this last week, and I have been reading through. And I would like to review this book today, or mention some things in it. It's called Women Without Superstition, just published about 6 months ago by the Freedom From Religion Foundation in Madison, Wisconsin. And the editor is...
Should read the title.
Yeah, it's Women Without Superstition, No Gods, No Masters. The collected writings of women freethinkers of the 19th and 20th centuries, edited by Annie Laurie Gaylor, who is one of the founders of the Freedom From Religion Foundation. And it is a read and a half. I hardly know where to start in this thing. Let me mention, because once in a while we get a black member coming out to our meeting at the Atheist Community of Austin, and it was a kick to me to read about Butterfly McQueen.
I don't know the name.
Do you know who Butterfly is?
But was she a movie star who was in Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, she played Prissy in
Yeah.
Gone with the Wind.
Now I know who you're talking about.
And she starred in several TV and Broadway shows. But she was an unusual woman. She attended 5 different universities.
Oh, I
Took her
had no idea.
bachelor's in 1974, I think. She got that wonderful atheist name, Butterfly. Is that a nice name? When she was a little girl, she was in a butterfly ballet as a part of Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream. And so they just stuck that name on her. And she has an excellent statement here that really sums it up as far as black people are concerned. She says, as my ancestors are free from slavery, I am free from the slavery of religion.
Excellent quote.
That sums that up. And then there's another one. She makes another very good point when she says, if we had put the energy on earth and on people that we put on mythology and on Jesus Christ, we wouldn't have any hunger or homelessness. Christianity and studying the Bible have sapped our minds so we don't know anything else. So the Christian who likes to hole up in his house and study his scriptures, using the electric light, which was invented by an atheist, Edison.
Excellent point.
You know, well, that is an interesting point. A lot of these women demonstrate what can happen when you start using your mind and not waiting for some authority to tell you what to do or manipulate your life.
Or waiting for their husband to tell them what to do.
Right. Yeah, and it's really extraordinary the number of women who don't get credit for their discoveries. Did you, for example, know that the person who discovered the planet Neptune was a woman? Free thinker?
No.
She's mentioned in here, Mary Somerville.
Wonderful.
That's, things like that. And who in archaeology doesn't know the names of Mary Leakey, Gertrude Bell, who was not content to go off and search for biblical cities. She went off and discovered the ziggurat, that temple pyramid of Tiglath-Pileser, the first 1,200 years before Christ. Kathleen Kenyon, she just died within the last 25 years. She's the one who discovered the oldest city on Earth that had been continuously inhabited from its beginning to the present.
I think of Margaret Mead, who, the anthropologist, who took us to different cultures.
Right. There's no putting down a woman who decides that she wants to make a contribution to mankind and is not willing to wait for somebody to tell her what to do and where to do it.
I do want to make a point, though. I find a lot of these women had to do that by casting aside men. A lot of times, if they were in a traditional marriage, they really couldn't do those things. So they generally were the kind of woman who could fight the norm. They
were, Gertrude Bell had her discoveries, her excavations, published under the name of a man because it wasn't acceptable to have it published under her name, although she's the one who did the work.
An approximation of how many women are discussed in this book? It looks like a pretty thick book.
Yeah, it's about 700 pages, and although we can't mention the price of it, it certainly is well worth it. I can mention just a couple of them. Taslima Nasreen is an interesting case. Did you know that there was a woman, not only Salman Rushdie, but a woman who's had a price put on her head by the Islamic...
No!
Yeah. And this woman achieved that at the age of 20.
For a book that she wrote or something like?
Well, yes. Taslima Nasreen in Bangladesh was a physician. Her father was a physician. And when she was 9 years old, a Sufi holy man, the father was in the Sufi tradition, told him that he and his entire family would burn in hell. Well, she was 9 years old, and she heard this, and she began to, it caught her attention. So by the time she was 11 or 12, when she'd done some reading and investigation on her own, she decided that she was an atheist. She has written a wonderful book which got her condemned by the Bangladesh government in 1994. She had thousands of Muslims chanting in the street for her death. She was in fear of her life. She escaped to Sweden. She's still alive today. 4 years ago.
Do we know how much money they put on her head?
That happened. I don't have a figure in this book.
I'm kind of wondering if it was as much as Salman Rushdie.
But she's under condemnation. She's under a death threat, an official death threat by the government as well as the Islamic religion in Bangladesh. And she's absolutely an atheist. And the thing that really works her up as a physician is this practice of, let's see, how do we be delicate here? Female genital mutilation, where thousands of young Islamic girls around the world die every year because of botched operations which are intended to make them or deprive them of the possibility of enjoying sexual intercourse when they're an adult. That's what it amounts to. And that outrages her to see that done, and that got her under a penalty of death. A lot of well-known journalists, Barbara Ehrenreich, women will know that name probably, Katha Pollitt, who's a columnist in The Nation, or outspoken atheists, Sonia Johnson, all these people have written. Any woman who is a feminist knows the name of Barbara Walker. She wrote that huge encyclopedia of women's myths and secrets. She's an atheist, and she's treated in the book too. So there's a lot of good material in here. I really perked up and was thrilled a bit to see Ellen Battelle Dietrich, who is a writer who unfortunately died young, but she was a scholar in the early Christian church. And this woman tracked down the source of a story that I had heard when I was a teenager and had never read about since and never knew where it came from. And she has gone to the trouble to find it. And that's the story. I don't know if you recall that. You've read the book, Sue, from about Alison Balfour, the witch in Scotland, or the accused witch in Scotland. See if I can find that here. This comes out of a history of England that was written about 100 years ago by James Anthony Froude, F-R-O-U-D-E, and he takes this from the official records of the Scottish court in which this happened in 1593, and I would like to read just a bit of it.
Sure.
Towards the end of 1593, there was trouble in the family of the Earl of Orkney. This is off the coast of Scotland. His brother laid a plot to murder him and was said to have sought the help of a notorious witch called Alison Balfour. When Alison Balfour's life was looked into, no evidence could be found connecting her either with the particular offense or with witchcraft in general. They couldn't find a thing to proceed with against her, but it was enough to be accused. She swore she was innocent, but they said that only makes her more guilty. And so they, being good Christians, they really did believe, and the scriptural basis for that is in the Old Testament, Exodus 22, verse 18, where it says, and this follows immediately after the 10 suggestions, or 10 commandments. It's in the very same list of commandments there, and it says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Well, now I can just see a Christian coming up to me and saying, "Well, I don't believe in that stuff. I don't believe in torture and killing witches, and my church doesn't believe that." And that was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And all I can say to those people is that Jesus Christ himself said not a jot or tittle of the law or the prophets will pass away. Jesus Christ believed it. He should. What would he do? He'd have to believe it because his old man gave the commandment. If you go back to Exodus 20, verse 22, you'll see it says, God Almighty was the one who said that. It wasn't Moses, it wasn't anybody else. So if you're going to believe that, if you're going to believe in Jesus Christ, and you're going to believe in the Bible, and if you belong to a religion that claims the Bible as its holy scriptures, you believe in murder. That applies to Jews, that applies to Roman Catholics, it applies to Lutherans, Presbyterians, right on down the line, Baptists, dare we say, Methodists, Mormons, anybody who claims to follow the Bible believes in murder, or to the extent that you say you don't believe in that, and you still claim those scriptures, you are to that extent a hypocrite. So I don't want to attack religions here necessarily on the program, but the basis for their proceeding against this woman was Exodus 22:18. Well, let's get back to this and finish it up. What they did with her, they said, well, the only way we're going to get her to admit that she is a witch, because she says she is not a witch, is to torture her. So she was repeatedly tortured. Her legs were put into the cachalot, interesting old Scottish words, which is an iron frame which was heated up until it burned the flesh off her legs. They did that, and she still would not confess. And so they said, what can we do with this woman who has been accused of being a witch? So being good Christians, they said, she's got a family. She's got a husband, and she's got 2 children. And so they took those into court, and they tortured her husband with something called the long irons, and still she would not admit that she was a witch because she was not a witch. And then they said, well, take the son. So they took the son next, and they put his legs in the boot. And you probably heard about this iron boot. This is a thing that was put on a person's foot, and wedges were driven in with a hammer or a mallet, which crushed the bones. Well, they did that to the boy, destroyed his feet. They said there were 57 mallet strokes were delivered on the wedges till his feet were crushed, and she still didn't confess. So last of all, what was left? She had a little daughter who was 7 years old. Well, if you know any girls who are 7 years old, you know exactly what they did. They took the daughter and they said, well, there was a machine they called the penny winkies, which is not a toy. That's a thumb screw. And this is a little rectangular piece of iron which is attached to a person's thumb and screwed down on the thumb until the nail is crushed into the bone, until the thumb actually bursts open and blood shoots out from the end. And these things were applied to this 7-year-old girl's hands until her thumbs were crushed. And at that point, Alison Balfour broke and said, I will admit anything you want me to admit. And they said, say you're a witch? She said, okay, then I'm a witch. And they said, great, we have a confession, let's burn her. So they burned her alive. That's Christianity applied. That's Exodus 22:18, in which every Christian believes if he's a Christian. And as this woman here says, Ellen Battelle-Dietrich is the person who researched this and found the source. Such was the government of men over women when women were, by the aid of superstition, reduced to subjection completely. And that's exactly what we have the Baptists doing right now, reducing women to that same situation. This is, I think Sue and I were just talking about the Council of Macon. In the 1400 years ago in central France, it was then called, Matisco Aediorum was the Latin name of the city, but there was a council of Christians held there, and they were debating the subject of whether or not woman was a beast. And after their extended debate, they took a vote. And they voted 32 to 31 that woman was not a beast. She escaped being a beast by one vote. That didn't mean that she was human. They still decided that she didn't have a soul. For several centuries, she didn't have a soul, according to the Roman Catholic Church. But she was considered to be the same thing as a sheep, a cow, any piece of livestock. And that's because of the Old Testament, the original fall, the original sin, Eve tempting Adam and so on, that story.
Yes.
And the New Testament saying women should shut up, keep quiet. If they want to know anything, they can ask their husbands. Never speak in church, never do anything, never say anything, be a victim, be just as manipulated as their husbands were by the church. And it's precious few women who have the strength, basically, the courage to speak out and make something of their lives and say, well, I want to be something more than this victim. And I think, I don't want to end on a down note, because that is a terrific down note. If you look into the history of religion, you cannot see anything good for women as far as religion is concerned.
No benefit.
They've been crushed generation after generation. But I do want to say this, make this point to sum this up, and that is that I think most people, when they come up to you and say, I'm a Christian, are really asking, please accept me as a decent and honorable person, a person who wants to do good things for other people and be humane. That's what they're really asking for. Just saying, I want to be a decent person, please accept me as a person who wants to conform or to fit in. They don't really realize what they represent. What they should do is to cast off that shell of Christianity that was fastened on them when they were a young child, and whether they want to call themselves humanists, atheists, agnostics, free thinkers, doesn't matter. If they don't like labels at all, that's okay. But they really should see the vicious history that's been imposed on them, and how much more good there would be in the world today if it were not for the Christian religion, Islamic religion, Jewish religion.
Right. And,
thank you, David.
Thank you, David. That was a wonderful book, and I definitely have to check. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, and I will definitely check that out. We do have we are live. And this is June 14th, and we will be taking your calls. We'd love to hear from any Baptist women that are supporting the Baptist point of view. I'd like to hear your views on that. We'd love to hear from women in general. We do have Joe Zamecki. Any regular viewers of the show would know that he's on the show quite often. He's at the National Convention of the American Atheists, and let's put him on the air and see what he has to say. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Glad you called.
Well, great. It's great to talk to y'all. I'm up here in Washington. I thought I'd give a call and say hello.
Thank you.
Great.
I heard David Kent. Do you have another guest?
Hi.
Sue Osborne.
Hi, Joe.
Oh, great. Hello, Sue.
How's
Yes,
it
we had to
going?
get a woman on the show because the
Yes.
Baptists this week, that's our topic, women in religion.
Oh, isn't that crazy?
Yes.
There was an excellent cartoon in USA Today. I think it was
I saw
today.
that.
You saw it. The woman being dragged by the man, and it's the Southern Baptist. I think that is brilliant because what they're doing is just insane, and I think it really is telling when they put it right in their Constitution and they make no apologies whatsoever. But I just also wanted to talk about what's going on up here.
Thank you.
It's been a great conference so far, and we're wrapping it up today. We've had some excellent speakers, one of which I wanted to talk briefly about. I'm sorry, it's not on your subject, women in religion, but
That's all right.
It was a woman. This is a woman named Rita Swan, who is the president of an organization called CHILD, C-H-I-L-D Incorporated, and I'm not exactly sure what the acronym stands for, but it's an organization dedicated to informing the public about faith healing or faith killing,
Faith
and
killing.
many of the instances where Christian Scientists and other types of religious people in their families will have a sick child or some other such situation where they will pray over the child. Of course, you all heard of this, instead of taking it to a hospital. And many times these are things that can be easily fixed in the hospital by, in the proper way with doctors and science, secular science. And
a little bit of antibiotics, just a few dollars worth of antibiotics, right?
And a lot
Right.
of times some insulin. A lot of kids are diabetic that die.
Go ahead, I interrupted you.
yeah, well, anyway, this woman is a very significant speaker on the subject because her experience was that she was once a Christian Scientist and sort of fundamentalist in a way, and she was into the faith healing idea, and it cost her the life of her son.
Oh, my.
Oh,
Yeah, and she spoke out about that and spoke out against it, and it was an excellent lecture. I've actually been working in another room, in a book room, so I was not able to catch that, but the gist of it was that it's still taking place today.
Yes, it is.
Despite all the awareness that the general public has been given about it and the information that is out there about it, it's still happening. And she brought up several instances of where children had very, very easily curable and treatable diseases, even something as simple as the flu or minor pneumonia. And I think one instance of where a child was very, very sick for something that was easily helped at a hospital the proper way, in a scientific a hospital where there is secular medicine and science can help people with these very simple curable problems like the flu or some such instance. And this one child was prayed over for something like 3 weeks and progressively got worse, as expected. And the parents and dozens of friends who were there to pray over this child absolutely refused to take the child to the hospital. And, of course, the child died. Well, this is happening still in this modern day and age, and that was one of the subjects that we've been talking about here, and it was an excellent lecture, and there were several others. We were here in October, of course, and picketing the Promise Keepers, and basically this time we don't have a picket or a whole lot of opposition here, and it's been a whole lot more positive press-wise. We've had
Right.
Washington Post did an excellent article about us, and all of the atheist activism, the positive activism that we're trying to accomplish here, and also a couple of religious a couple of religious media sources like the Odyssey channel. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
They came out, sent a couple of reporters, and CBN and Religion News Service was out, and from what I understand, they've all given us some good positive reports about atheist activism, and it's really uplifting. It's really inspiring to read these reports. Finally, positive reports about atheists, and not just a complete slam against atheists. And talking about many of the positive things that atheists are doing these days to try to improve awareness among the public about atheists, as well as to try to educate and inform other atheists who don't know much about the organizations that are out there. And I find a big connection between what's going on here and the atheist community of Austin, and for those reasons, and we have had a really positive response from the general public here. And I just wanted to say that,
Okay.
yeah, it's a great thing that we're doing this, and also I'm looking real forward to going back to Austin and giving a report and talking more about positive atheist activism.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Joe.
You have a safe trip.
Well, okay, thanks a lot for talking to me then.
All right.
Bye.
Take care now.
See ya.
All right, thank you. That was Joe Zamecki there, live from Washington, D.C. And we now have a remote, we have live remotes there from Washington, D.C. Isn't that cool? Okay, we do have a caller on the line. Let's go on down to Tim.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm real new to the atheist experience, and I was wondering if I could break topic with you. I just turned on your show.
Sure.
How do atheists rationalize the incredible accuracy of Bible prophecy?
All right.
Oh, my.
Like a 2,000-year-old man that predicts that there would be a 200 million man army in the kings of the East, China, when a person like that has no geographical experience, can't even conceptualize China or 200 million man concept.
Well,
How do you rationalize that?
we,
Same way as we rationalize Nostradamus.
yes,
Nostradamus is pretty accurate, but not 100%.
the Bible is so inaccurate on
On Bible prophecy, name one.
name one. How about Matthew saying that the Old Testament prophesied that Jesus would be in Nazareth and be a Nazarene? The word Nazareth is nowhere in the Old Testament.
Sure it is.
Where?
It's not called Nazareth. There's Hebrew translation problems and all kinds of stuff like that. But that's pretty accurate right there.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. My guests were laughing there. What'd you say, sir?
That was pretty accurate what you just said, that he was able to predict that Jesus would be, actually Bethlehem is predicted and Nazareth is both predicted.
Where in the Old Testament does it
It's like in Isaiah or something, but it's not the word Nazareth because that's not what it was called at that time.
What was it called?
Some Hebrew stuff, I don't know all that. But it's pretty accurate that what you just said there was pretty accurate that he predicted he did predict a name of some town. Maybe it wasn't Nazareth, but that's pretty good to predict that he will be, actually, if you look that up, it will be an area located near Nazareth.
Okay, well, again, let's go back to Matthew. Supposedly...
but okay, you can go maybe find some isolated incidents where there's some ambiguous prophecy, but on the bulk is incredibly accurate.
No, it's not.
Explain how a 2,000-year-old man, just go with the one I explained to you before.
I'll gladly explain it to you. It was written several hundred years after the event happened, and it was it's in Revelation, and that book is not even sure when it was written or who it was written by. Somebody named John. They're not sure if it was the Baptist or John the First, whatever. So you're claiming that was
Revelation is a mysterious book that is unraveling as we speak right now.
Any prophecy that you say happened, and we discussed this topic quite in depth a couple weeks ago, and I'm sorry you missed the show, because I have my notes available then, so I'm going from the top of my head.
Well, go with that one I just gave you.
Well, give it to me again then.
Okay, in Revelation, written by John, he predicts that the kings of the East in the end times will have an army of 200 million men, and he writes this at a time when China is not even existent, and the concept of 2 million men is out of his range.
Okay, how far east are you talking? It's 360 degrees.
For him,
we can go. Wait a minute.
Iraq.
Let me finish my statement, sir.
Okay.
You can pick. Just as easily he could have said the West and went 360 degrees around and got to China. So the whole idea that he predicted the X amount of number of people. There are several people that predicted, that the Earth would have 6 billion people in this time.
How do you explain him doing that? Is that just blind luck? He just got lucky guess?
My own personal research shows that was an edited version, that was edited several hundred years after Jesus Christ died. And whether or not Jesus Christ is even an actual person.
Okay, an 1,800-year-old man, 200 million men. Is that luck guess? How do you explain that? How do you rationalize?
Because
and there's a billion examples just like it.
That was the poorest example.
There was a weak one. There's some really better ones.
Well, then give me a better one.
Daniel was probably the best Old Testament prophecy. Oh, man, with Nebuchadnezzar, he predicted everything came exact. Daniel was just infallible. And Daniel, in his 70-week prophecy.
70-week?
Yeah, there's in chapter 2 or 4, I believe.
Let's not get into a lot of scripture chopping here. That's not what this program is about.
Well,
if you want to talk about Daniel, I can tell you a lot of predictions of the end times. The Millerites and a lot of different groups in American history base their predictions for the end of the world, the second coming, on what was in Daniel. Every one of them was wrong. Is that an accurate prediction?
He's 100%
you can interpret
right on
anything anybody says any way you want. You can predict. You can make any kind of a statement into a prediction. You can construe the result any way you want. You could say anything that Joseph Smith or Pat Robertson or anybody else has ever said was a prophecy and show that it has come to pass if you edit selectively, like Ray is just pointing out. What you're saying is garbage. This stuff is based on statements that were made thousands of years ago relating to events that were taking place thousands of years ago, had no relevance to a period 4,000 years in the future. You can't show that.
Daniel is incredibly
He's not
accurate
at all
on
accurate.
times that are happening right now as we speak.
Yes, and people have said the second coming of Christ was going to happen in 1842. It didn't happen, did it? That was based on Daniel.
A specific prophecy of Daniel, he had a vision where he saw this creature that had 4 parts to it.
I don't care if he took drugs.
It's probably similar to a drug-induced experience when
No
he has a
doubt. He
revelation
probably
like
took
that.
mushrooms. He probably was crazy, absolutely insane.
But I mean, if y'all want to avoid, I mean, I would just ask you to respond on how
Okay,
you
well, let me
rationalize
give
some
you-
of these that are really good prophecies. How do you
Well-
rationalize blind luck?
No, that's like we're saying, it's edited afterwards. But let me ask you one then. Let me ask you one then. In Matthew, Jesus himself is quoted as saying he would return within the lifetime of the listeners that were there at that. So, what do you say to that?
He really implied it like that. He didn't say that exactly.
He
made
He
said
it.
certainly said that
He
exactly.
said he was going to return within their lifetime.
Don't you know?
That's in Matthew.
Don't you know your own scriptures?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
If you do, then you know the answer.
Then why?
It's also, just like you're saying, a matter of subjective interpretation, because he didn't say, I will be back before you're dead exactly like that. He made it where every generation should feel like its imminent return.
That is not what is in the scriptures.
It's a subjective
that's your
interpretation. If you want to use it, because it's allegory.
So I feel like we've answered your point there. In the
So
prophecy.
you rationalize it by dismissing it completely.
No, I've yet to find any prophecy in the Bible that is actual true, that was not edited.
Well, y'all don't want to go on that whole subject, but I got a billion of them.
What about the 500 contradictions between the four Gospels? The four Gospels can't even agree on, there's so many.
They're four human beings with four different life experiences and four different interpretations of exactly the same event. If you three have the same experience, you're going to interpret it differently, right?
Oh, wait a minute. He just said he had 5 billion bad examples. We haven't got time for them all.
Yes, I do appreciate you. Call again another time.
Yeah,
We do have other callers.
because I'm pretty well versed on most of it.
I wish you
Well,
were.
then, I suggest you read the Bible with an open mind and read it for what it actually is, and you'll find out that those prophecies are irrelevant.
This is what I do. 24 hours is research prophecy. I know.
Okay,
That's your life.
Well, you ought to do a better.
all right, you have a good day.
All right, thanks.
Amazing, isn't it?
Well,
He
if
does that 24 hours a
If he had
day.
studied 24 hours a day using the light bulb that an atheist invented for him to read by, Edison,
Yes.
he should have come a little better prepared than he was.
I agree.
This is June 14th, and I was hoping to get some women on the topic there with the Baptists and then everything else, but we will talk about any religious point that you'd like to. Let's go on down to Alan.
Yeah.
Good morning.
I was curious as to who you think created you and what you all are living for.
Oh, thank God we've got an answer. A question I can answer.
Here, David has an excellent question.
I can name the people who created me, my father John, my mother Edith. That's
see.
who created me, man.
Who created them?
Well, let's see, I can name those two.
How far back can you go?
and
I know my grandfather's name, my grandmother's on the father's side, and my maternal grandparents. I can
how
name
did it
them.
all
I can go
begin?
back quite a few lines.
How did it all begin?
Well, I suppose with a man and a woman having sexual intercourse.
Well, who created them? Where did it all
Well,
start?
what do you mean, where did what all
How did
start?
this all
Life?
start?
You're talking about DNA, are you?
Well,
Are you talking about humanity?
Do you know anything about DNA?
yes, I do.
All right, good. Then you know how it all started.
Well, what are you all living for? Who?
Your meaning,
for?
the meaning of your life is something that you develop yourself, is something you devise yourself. Life has whatever meaning you put into it. If you want to accomplish something for the benefit of mankind, you decide what it is, you go out and do it, you cooperate with other people so that you can accomplish what you want to accomplish.
So what
that
happens-
gives meaning to your life. There is no meaning to your life that is imposed by some authority. If you're still fixed on some authority figure, you're not going to have a real meaning in your life. You're going to be living in a fairy tale. You might as well believe in Mother Goose.
Well, that's kind of ridiculous.
That's not ridiculous at all. That's a statement of material realism.
How can you say? that-
Lucretius said that long before any Christian came along.
You can't say that I don't have any meaning in my life.
I certainly do if you're depending on some external authority that's not real.
Are you expecting to get your reward here when you die? We're here to make this a better place as we live today. We're not going to wait until we get, and we're not going to live our lives with fear of what's going to happen when our death comes by going to hell or whatever else.
Where are you going to go when you die? What's going to happen?
Into the ground.
Into the ground.
That's where you're going to go too, Buster.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. I'm going to be
reality.
cremated.
We have a lot of examples around you to show that you will. Nobody's ever resurrected.
So,
Never happened.
so this is just your life experience here, and when you die, that's it.
Let me give you some reading
Exactly.
suggestions here. There's an article in the current issue of American Atheist magazine, which I doubt you've read, but I would recommend it because the editor this month has written an article about The fictitious character of Jesus Christ. Why research has now shown that Jesus Christ never lived, never existed. There was no such historical character as Jesus Christ. And he gives the reasons in the research that back it up. Go out and buy a copy of American Atheist and find out.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
You have a good
Thanks
day.
for calling.
Again, we was trying to get to the topic on women and religion, my own personal. Oh, go ahead, Arlo. I'm sorry. I thought I heard Arlo on the
Oh,
speak.
no, I didn't say anything, but I mean, if we're not going to get any callers, I can bring up the topic. If anyone cares to hear some Bible quotes about the way this book treats women,
Sure.
what it expects from them, there's tons of this stuff.
Feel free to do one quick one there.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Well, one I found interesting is, okay, with Pat Robertson, the one they're hanging on to is women submit to your husbands, of course, and they think they have to follow that one, but yet they're not following this one here, which you might find interesting. Quoted from the Bible, women should remain silent in the churches. They are not allowed to speak, but must be in submission, as the law says. If they want to inquire about something, they should ask their husbands at home, for it is disgraceful for a woman to speak in the church. Now, this contradicts the passage of saying a woman should be silent at home. Women can't speak altogether. And
They
there's many
can't
other
speak at
things.
home or in church.
Hmm?
They can't speak at home or in church.
Apparently,
Is that right?
Right.
Well, it doesn't deny them to speak at home, but it's a suggestion that they should be silent. And there's all kinds of other stuff. Most people think it's just the Quran that says women need to cover up and shave their heads. The Bible says this too in the New Testament.
And the new, thank you for pointing, because several of them claim, that these are laws, rules and stuff from the Old Testament, and it has no bearing on new life. I love it that you brought out that it was in the New Testament.
More stuff in the New Testament. There's so much of this stuff. 3 pages of notes. It's just so degrading to women, and so many women follow this.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
Arlo, from what I understand, the basis of this in Christianity is that man was made in the image of the Father,
Yes.
of God, and woman was not. So from that, they take the fact that they think women have no soul, women may be a beast. They had talked about that for a long time. And that women has no place in the church. So the Catholic Church today is still saying women cannot be priests because they're not made with a penis. They're not in the image of the Father.
Yeah, actual quote here. Adam was formed first, then Eve, and Adam was not the one who deceived. It was the woman who was declared and became a sinner.
Yeah, so
No, the supposed character of Jesus Christ said, "Woman, what have I to do with you?"
And those things about it's better to burn.
Better to marry than to burn.
Yeah.
But my own personal belief being believing in evolution and everything else, women, and my own belief is an evolutionary masterpiece. It's through the male ego that has overtaken, and they were the ones that were in control of the church, and the male ego is the one that drove that whole thing in. And I will apologize for thousands of years.
Oh no, he's doing a Clinton.
Yes.
You feel her pain.
Yes. And women are definitely contribute so much to society and life in general that for them to for any man to tell them that they're a second-class citizen is damn, I get so tongue-tied here on the words here. Let's go to the callers here. We got Kevin on the line here.
Yeah, I'm just calling to make comment about the Jesus thing that he said about him.
Sure.
And I've heard other stories like that too. About one time, somebody bumped into Jesus as he walked down the street, and he turned to that person dropped dead. And there's a whole bunch of conflicting stories like that, and it's just interesting to hear more of them come out because so many people think that that Jesus Christ was just some holy guy that did all good, but you got to know bad before you know good, even if he claims to be the Son of God. But he had voices in his head. If somebody did that now, they would lock him up,
Oh, good point.
What was that one prophet that wandered through the desert naked for like 25 years and came back and said he had all these revelations? Heck, if I was wandering naked for 20 years in the desert too, I'd have some revelations, I bet. You know, so it's just people got to look at, you know, from both sides. I mean, when somebody says, this guy walked in the desert, he came back a prophet, they're like going, oh, really? Wow, you know? Instead of thinking, well, wait a minute, what did he do out in the desert all those years?
Yeah, what kind of mushrooms were he eating or whatever else? Yeah.
Something.
And, well, I appreciate your contribution to today's show.
Hey, no problem. Good luck.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
So, yes, like I say, this is June 14th. We'd love to hear your point of view there on the Baptists and as what we were, today's topic there.
Well, you were just talking about how men versus women and how they react or respond. It reminded me of another woman in this book, Valterine de Clare, who was a famous lecturer around 1900. After McKinley was shot by an anarchist, Valterine de Clare, she was quite prominent at the time. A Senator Hawley came out, United States Senator came out and said, I will pay $1,000 if I can shoot an anarchist. And Valterine de Clare, who was an anarchist as well as an atheist, wrote him an open letter and said, this is my name, this is my address, come collect your $1,000 by shooting me. Well, the interesting thing was, about a year later, one of her, a person that she was befriending and trying to help, a homeless man, got the idea in his head that she was his enemy, and he shot her just above the heart, then shot her twice in the back. And the doctors thought, well, we can't operate on this, the bullets are too in a bad place for it. And so they let her, they're just going to let her die. Well, she didn't die. Tough woman atheist, right? But her response was not a typical, not the response that a man would give, I wouldn't think. Her response was interesting. She wrote an article and she said, it would be a travesty against civilization if this man were executed. And she went so far, she raised a defense fund, a legal defense fund for this man.
Amazing.
To have him committed. She says he's a casualty of Christianity, he's a homeless person.
My.
And she said, I can overlook what he tried to do, but he needs help. Now that is a woman's
excellent
response.
It's incredible.
Yes, that's an excellent story there. I would like to point out that we are Atheist Community of Austin. We do have a webpage. It's www.atheist-community.org. We are a nonprofit organization. We do have a voicemail number, 371-2911. So if you'd like to find out more about us or tell us we're going to hell or whatever else, feel free to call.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Well, we have, about 7 minutes left,
Yes.
7.5, and would really like to have a woman call in. A woman, if you agree with this or you disagree with the Baptists and a lot of this Christian Bible, give us a call. Let us know what you're thinking.
Yes. Because the Baptists also brought out what they defined as a true family.
Yes.
It was in there too. So if you're a widower or a widow, you're no longer a family. The family is a man and woman and the children, either through blood or adoption.
Blood, marriage, or adoption.
Mm-hmm.
One man, one woman. Although the Bible does say something about polygamy and everything else,
concubines.
Yes. Yes. So we just like to remind we have a woman on the line. Yes.
Beth.
Good morning, Beth.
Hello.
Good morning.
I'm a friend to everyone in this world because Jesus Christ died for all of us. He died for all of the sinners, and we are all sinners.
All right.
But.
Okay, go ahead.
But. I hear a but here.
He died for everyone that loves Him, and if we don't love Him, then we will pay the price.
We'll go to hell, right?
We feel that there's no historical proof that there was ever a person called Jesus Christ. What do you have to say to that?
Well, there is no proof of anything in this life. Since you
well, you're taking Descartes' argument there. Anything? Go ahead. Sorry.
Is the Earth flat?
There's only one proof that I can think of at this moment.
And what's that?
We are all put in a grave. We all die because Adam and Eve sinned against God.
Adam and Eve.
That is not Allah. That is not that is not every God didn't make us. Only one God created heaven and earth and everything there is. And He is the one that created you, me, and He's the one that died for me and you and everyone.
Okay, yeah. I was going to ask her about her point of view on submitting to your husband.
Exactly. What do you think about that?
Beth?
Yeah?
What do you think of the Baptist statement there that women should submit to their husbands? That was part of today's topic.
I think that when Eve took that apple, that put her in bad standing with her Creator.
That's all women.
So bad Eve must pay the price.
We're running.
He also gave it to Adam.
Okay.
So Adam and Eve sinned, and so that's why God couldn't look upon on His creation. He loves all of us, so He made a way for all of us to come back to Him through Jesus Christ, through His death.
I do appreciate you calling. We're running late, and I have several callers on the line. You have a good day now.
Okay.
Arlo, you had a point? I'm sorry.
Well,
go ahead. I thought you had a point for the caller.
I don't know, but I guess I could mention that nice opening statement to be a friend of everybody. But
yes.
you can do this without Jesus. You can do this without without this religion.
Who needs to drag the theology?
Okay. Let's go on down the line here to Don.
Hello?
Good morning. Quickly, we're running out of time.
Okay, I just wondered if y'all had noticed on that same statement that they'd made about the gay marriages and stuff, that they said, what I heard quoted was something about that it's a marriage of a man and a woman for life. And nobody brought up that for life thing.
I'm sorry, you're right,
like
they did.
Like they've outlawed divorce.
Yes, excellent point. I'm sorry I didn't bring that up. You brought up an excellent point.
Okay, just thought I'd mention it.
Thank you. You take care now. And let's go on down to Matt.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, first of all, I'd like to say you guys are just talking about marriage and whatnot. I just got married yesterday.
Well, congratulations.
And we don't believe in tradition. We completely wrote our own ceremony, wrote our vows. And I'd just like to talk to you guys. You guys are atheists.
Correct.
And you guys are completely convinced there is no God.
Correct.
And there's no... See, I believe that there is a God. I just believe there's no scientific way you can prove there is a God, and there's no scientific way you can prove there isn't a God.
Yes, but the evidence is overwhelming that there isn't. And
How so?
Just through this day-to-day life and our scientific investigation, there has developed theories that are built on each and every day and reinforce the theories that we've already established about evolution and everything else.
But still, evolution, life is imperfect. It's constantly changing itself and healing itself. Now, ever since the dawn...
It certainly is. That's evolution.
It is.
Ever since the dawn of civilization, ever since man has come together, there's been one form of God or another. Everyone's convinced.
True.
But
Lots
I
of
can
different
see, in
ones,
a sense,
lots.
I don't like any religion, any standard religion today.
All right.
I like that bumper sticker that says God is too big to fit in one religion. There's just you can't put limits on it, and that's what religion does. You can't say that you know what God is or exactly anything about him. I mean, anything about him or her. You can't put a masculine or feminine form on it.
If it's unknown, what's the point of it?
Well, see, the point is that you guys look completely convinced that you're right, and
what's the
you
use of
can't tell people
your
because
God?
people that believe in God are completely convinced that they're right.
Right. What's the use of your God if it isn't known to you and doesn't do anything for you?
No, it does though. It brings me peace of mind.
All right.
So
I have a point I'd like to ask you too.
And we've got 30 seconds. Go quickly.
Okay.
It seems that there would be no need to have this discussion if there was an omnipresent, omniscient, all-knowing, all-powerful God. It would be apparent, and obviously
No,
not
it wouldn't be
apparent.
though. That's the beauty of it.
Okay. I'm sorry you called on the last, but I'm going to have to cut you off.
All right.
Please call back next week.
Okay.
We're live every Sunday morning here, 9 a.m., Channel 16. We love you, Austin. We love everybody in Austin, Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, everybody. We love you.